You don't usually realize you're dealing with a narcissist when the damage first begins, and that's exactly why it's dangerous. At first, it feels like you've met someone who sees you, understands you, maybe even admires you in a way no one else ever has. They listen closely, they mirror your interests, they say the right things at the perfect time. It feels almost too perfect, and that's your first warning. Because what feels like deep connection is often just careful observation. They are studying you, not loving you. And by the time you start questioning their behavior, you're already emotionally invested, already trying to hold on to the version of them that never truly existed. A narcissist thrives on control, but not the obvious kind. They don't walk in and demand authority. They earn your trust first. They create a dynamic where you feel lucky to have them, where their approval feels like something you need to maintain. And slowly, without you noticing, your confidence starts to depend on how they treat you that day. One moment they lift you up, the next they pull away, and you're left trying to figure out what you did wrong. This is not confusion by accident. This is strategy. In Stoic thinking, anything that disturbs your inner peace repeatedly is not something to negotiate with. It's something to question deeply. One of the clearest signs is how they react when things are not about them. A narcissist struggles to genuinely celebrate others unless it benefits their image. If you succeed, they may downplay it, shift the focus, or subtly remind you of your flaws. And if you challenge them, even calmly, they often respond with defensiveness, blame, or even anger, not because they are strong, but because their identity is fragile. Stoicism teaches that a person who cannot face truth without emotional chaos is not grounded. They are dependent on illusion. They also have a pattern of rewriting reality. Conversations you clearly remember will be twisted. Things they said will suddenly be denied. You'll start questioning your own memory, your own judgment. This is what slowly pulls you out of your center. The Stoics warned about this kind of influence. When another person begins to distort your perception of reality, they are not just affecting your mood, they are affecting your ability to think clearly. And once your thinking is compromised, your decisions follow. Another trait is their need for constant validation, but it's never enough. You can give your time, your energy, your loyalty, and it still won't satisfy them. Because the issue isn't what you give, it's what they lack internally. They are trying to fill something that cannot be filled from the outside. And in the process, they will take more and more from you, often without ever giving genuine emotional support in return. Stoicism teaches self-sufficiency of the mind. A narcissist operates in the opposite direction, feeding endlessly on external attention. What makes them especially harmful is how they condition you over time. At first, you may have had strong boundaries, clear standards, a solid sense of self, but slowly those begin to erode. You start tolerating things you once would have walked away from. You justify their behavior. You tell yourself they didn't mean it, or they'll change. And without realizing it, you've adjusted your standards to fit their behavior instead of holding your ground. This is how people lose themselves, not all at once, but in small compromises repeated over time. A narcissist often avoids accountability at all costs. When something goes wrong, it's rarely their fault. They may shift blame, create excuses, or turn the situation around so that you end up apologizing instead. This creates a cycle where you're constantly trying to fix problems you didn't create. And over time, this drains your mental and emotional energy. The Stoics believed that energy should be directed toward what you can control. But in this dynamic, your energy is constantly being pulled into defending yourself or restoring balance that keeps getting disrupted. There's also a pattern of emotional highs and lows. When things are good, they can feel incredibly good, intense, exciting, almost addictive. But those moments are often followed by distance, coldness, or criticism. This inconsistency creates attachment, not stability. You start chasing the good version of them, hoping it will return permanently. But that version is not stable. It's part of the cycle. Stoicism teaches emotional steadiness, not dependency on unpredictable highs. Avoiding a narcissist doesn't start with labeling them. It starts with observing patterns, not what they say, but what they consistently do. Do they respect your boundaries? Do they take responsibility? Do they bring peace into your life or constant tension? These are the questions that matter. Because Stoic philosophy is not about judging others harshly. It's about protecting your inner world from what disrupts it. And one of the hardest truths is this: narcissists don't always look like villains. They can be charming, successful, even admired by others. That's what makes it difficult to walk away. Because from the outside, everything may look fine. But Stoicism isn't concerned with appearances. It's concerned with what is real beneath the surface. And if someone consistently brings confusion, self-doubt, and emotional instability into your life, then no amount of charm can justify their presence. Over time, staying connected to someone like this doesn't just affect your mood, it reshapes how you see yourself. You may start doubting your worth, your instincts, your voice. And once that happens, you're no longer just dealing with them. You're dealing with the version of yourself that has been slowly diminished. This is where the real cost shows up. Because a narcissist doesn't just take your energy, they can take your clarity, your confidence, and your peace if you allow them close enough for long enough. What makes this even more dangerous is how quietly the shift happens inside you. You don't wake up one day and decide to tolerate disrespect. It happens in small moments. You ignore a comment that felt off. You excuse a behavior that crossed a line. You stay silent when you should have spoken. And each time you do this, you move a little further away from your own standards. The Stoics believed that character is shaped by repeated actions, and in this situation, your silence becomes a habit. Not because you are weak, but because you've been conditioned to prioritize keeping the peace over protecting your peace. A narcissist also has a way of isolating you without making it obvious. They may not directly tell you to cut people off, but they might criticize your friends, question your family, or make you feel like others don't understand you the way they do. Slowly, your circle becomes smaller, and they become your main source of validation. This is not accidental, because once your world revolves around them, it becomes much harder to step back and see clearly. Stoicism teaches the importance of perspective, but isolation removes perspective, and without it, you're more likely to accept what you shouldn't. Another pattern is how they handle your boundaries. In the beginning, they may seem respectful, even accommodating. But over time, they begin to test limits. A small request turns into a bigger one. A boundary you set gets pushed just a little, and if you don't enforce it, that becomes the new standard. This is how control is established, not through force, but through gradual expansion. A Stoic mindset requires discipline, especially when it comes to what you allow, because what you allow repeatedly becomes what you accept. They also tend to create a sense of urgency in situations that don't require it. Decisions feel rushed, emotions feel heightened, and you're often put in a position where you have to react quickly instead of thinking clearly. This keeps you in a constant state of emotional response rather than rational control. And when you're reacting, you're not grounded. The Stoics emphasized the importance of pausing before responding, because clarity comes from calm thinking, not emotional pressure. A narcissist benefits when you don't have that pause. You may also notice that their kindness often comes with conditions. It's not freely given, it's tied to your behavior. When you meet their expectations, they reward you with attention, affection, or approval. When you don't, they withdraw it. This creates a cycle where you feel like you have to earn basic respect. But respect is not something that should be conditional. In Stoicism, your worth is not determined by another person's approval. It is grounded in your own actions and values. When someone makes you feel like you have to perform for their respect, that's a clear imbalance. Another subtle but powerful sign is how you feel after interacting with them. Not during the high moments, but afterward. Do you feel calm, clear, and grounded, or drained, confused, and anxious? Your emotional state is a signal. The Stoics paid close attention to internal reactions because they reveal truth faster than words. You can listen to what someone says all day, but how they make you feel consistently tells you more than anything they could explain. Avoiding someone like this requires more than awareness. It requires discipline. Because even when you recognize the patterns, there may still be a pull to stay. That pull can come from history, from emotional attachment, or from the hope that things will change. But Stoicism teaches acceptance of reality, not attachment to potential. You have to deal with who they consistently show themselves to be, not who they occasionally pretend to be. And one of the most powerful things you can do is detach emotionally before you detach physically. This means you stop seeking their approval. You stop reacting to every shift in their behavior. You observe instead of absorb. You create space internally, even if you're still around them externally. This is not about becoming cold. It's about becoming steady. Because once you are no longer emotionally dependent on their responses, their control begins to weaken. There's also a level of honesty you have to reach within yourself. You have to admit what you've been tolerating. Not to blame yourself, but to take responsibility for what you allow moving forward. The Stoics believed that while you cannot control others, you are always responsible for your own choices. And that includes the choice to stay, the choice to engage, and the choice to walk away. In the end, the greatest protection against a narcissist is not learning all their tactics. It's strengthening your own mind. Because when you are clear on your values, firm in your boundaries, and grounded in your self-worth, manipulation has less room to take hold. You stop chasing validation, and you start choosing peace. And once peace becomes your standard, anything that consistently disrupts it becomes easier to recognize and even easier to leave behind. And here's the truth most people don't want to face. A narcissist doesn't ruin your life overnight. It happens slowly, quietly, through repeated moments where you ignore your instincts, lower your standards, and stay longer than you should. It's not just about who they are. It's about what their presence pulls out of you over time. The self-doubt, the second-guessing, the emotional exhaustion. All of it builds until you no longer recognize the version of yourself you used to be. And that's the real danger, because once you lose clarity, you lose control. And once you lose control, you start living in reaction instead of intention. But Stoicism reminds you of something powerful. No matter how far things have gone, your mind is still yours. Your awareness is still yours. And the moment you start seeing things clearly, the cycle begins to break. You don't need to fix them. You don't need to prove anything to them. You don't need to wait for closure that may never come. Your responsibility is to yourself, to your peace, your standards, and your future. And sometimes the strongest move you can make is not confrontation. It's quiet detachment and decisive distance. Because at the end of the day, you don't rise by staying connected to what drains you. You rise by removing what disturbs your inner world. And once you truly understand that, you stop asking, how do I deal with them? And start asking, why am I still allowing this? That question changes everything. If this made you pause and reflect, then you already know. Something in your life may need to change. Don't ignore that feeling. Act on it. And if you want more content like this, real, direct, and built to sharpen your mindset, make sure you subscribe to PSYCHOVEST, turn on your notifications, and stay connected. Because the more you strengthen your mind, the less control anything or anyone will ever have over your life again.